guys, welcome to Binary Code channel again. Today I'm planning to show how we are going to use the repository layer with some custom methods and queries. So from my previous video, what we had was few controllers and few service methods, and then in the repository we didn't have any method. So what we were basically using was everything that comes bundled with the Jpa repository, or maybe even the CRUD repository, right? So before starting this demo, I made a little bit of change to my domain class. I added this status field on top of what we had previously, and then I added this table annotation to mark this table as user. I think I missed it in the previous case. So okay, let's start. So in my previous controller we had controllers uh, methods to fetch data and then to get them by ID, as well as to save them, and then to update the users and also to delete users. So in this case I have already added one method to kind of do a searching through the application to the fields that we have. So normally when we want to get users, it's okay to have a get all users method, but normally in web applications or in any other applications, what happens is we have to fetch data based on certain field conditions. So because I didn't want to get rid of this method, I added another method to get the users based on the requested parameters. So here I have used this request param method annotation to fetch data, right? So and we can mark them as required equals false, which tells that this parameter is not mandatory to fetch data. So even this, if this gets null, this method works fine, right? So in this case I have passed name, age and the status, the newly added column, as parameters, and I have marked each and every one of them as required false. So which means even if at least if one of them is there, it might work, and if even if none of them are there, it works, right? So that's the rationale behind that. So I added a new get mapping, and because we cannot have two get mappings with the same URL pattern, I had to differentiate it. So I added another user here, right? So you will get to know that when you are testing it via Postman. Okay, let's start coding now. So in the user repository, as we mentioned, so now we don't have any methods, custom methods, so we are using all the methods inside the Jpa repository. Okay, let's go and see what I have done here. So here I am calling this get users by params method in the user service, which I have already written, right? And I have added a log message as well, to log all the request parameters that are sent, right? Okay, let's go to the repository and let's see how we can add methods. Now say for example, if we want to find particular users by its name, right? So that could return even a single user or even a list of users. So since it could return multiples as well, let's mark it as list. Then this is how we write the names. The name signature or the naming of the method is mandatory here. So what we should do is find by, right, and then name, which comes as the N as capital. So how do we get this name here? It actually is this name field here. So instead of writing all caps, what we have to do is to make the first letter capital and then the rest of them as simple letters, as shown in your module class, right? So this should accept one parameter as name, right? So this is a method to find users by name. So what we have to add this find prefix and then by, and then the particular field that we want to filter by, right? So simple as that. Let's go to this service and let's uh, call that method. So we have user repository dot find by name, right? So here I'm passing the username field that is coming there, right? So instead of returning null, I will return null. I will return this thing here, right? So that's it, all you have to do. So this will fetch users, find users by the username that you are passing. So let me restart the container and let's see if this one works with few sample requests from Postman. So till the server gets booted up, I'll open up the Postman. So these were the same requests that we made to my server last time. So I'll first go to the get request, and I hope the server is up. Yeah, it's up. So let me send a get request to get all users. This is to get all the users. So yeah, it doesn't return anything because I just restarted the server. Okay, so let me add few here. I'll mark them 1 2 3. So I'll set the status to active, and I'll add another one with the name 2, and keep it as active as well. Okay, now we have 2 records added to our DB. Yeah, so now what we want to try out is find users by name, right? So the URL pattern is going to be, let me go there. Yeah, so it is localhost 8080/user first, and then again we have to add another user, so which tells find users where users like this, right? So here in this case I can pass request parameters. So in Postman, how do we pass request parameters? You have to go to this params tab and you can add those parameters here. So let's say it's name this time, right? So I added one like 1. Let me try it. Yeah, I get it. So just have a look at how the request URLs changes. So what does it tell is like request users with user name equals to 1, right? So that's what it tells, and so I'm getting the correct user in this case. So that's simple. So we were previously fetching data from by IDs, and we were fetching all the records. So instead you can use your own methods in the repository. So to save some time, I have already listed some of the methods that we might be able to use. So I'll walk you through this one. So this second method, find by name and age. So in case if you want to find the users by name and age, so let's go to this service and let's change this method to find by name and age. Yeah, name and age. So this method accepts 2 arguments, so you have to pass the age as well. And note that we are having find by name and age, which means we have the AND operator in between name and age. So when fetching, it will check for both the values, and if both are matching, it will return us the user. So let me restart again and just show you how that works as well. So let me prepare some data. Let's add this one first, and then we'll add yes, the survey is up. I'm adding one record. I will add the other one as well, right? Okay, so now these users I have, they have one named 1, and then the age is going to be 25. So if I search here named 1, and let's search like this, let's see if that field, it doesn't filter because I used AND operator there. So it has to have that age as well passed. So let's pass age here, and then age set to, let's set to 24 and see if that comes. No, it doesn't, but it has to be 25. Okay, here now it is doing a AND check, right, where it has to match both age and name in this case. So similarly, we have other methods that we can use in the repository, like find name or age, which will fetch you data if either of them are met, and find name in. So if we want to find names, we can pass a list of names and fetch all the users that contains that name. Let's try that one as well. So to generate a list, let me first add a new list of names, right? So I'm adding a name, let's say one, sorry, let's say one, and then another username like 2. Okay, that's it. Then instead of find by name and age, find by name in, right? We have to pass a collection. So the collection I'm going to pass is this list that I created above, right? Okay, so what I'm telling here, get me the users with the names 1 and 2, right? So find by name in. Let's restart it. I'm restarting, so need to add some data because I'm using this in memory DB. I have to add data each and every time I restart the server. So just to make sure that we don't have any data here, I'm adding 1. I will add the other one 2 as well, right? Let me change this to 3. Okay, added 3 records. So let's go and check it out if we have all the 3 records injected. Okay, we have 1, 2 and 3. So in my code, what I am telling is I need 1 and 2, right? So let's that is hard coded actually. So I'll just make a request. Whatever the request that I make, it will give me the data that I requested. Let's see. Yeah, so it's giving me 1 and 2, both the records are there, right? So actually in this case I'm not passing parameters because the values are hard coded, right? So just to show you how it works. Okay, let's get rid of this. Right now I want to show you some important thing. Let's return null and keep it like this. Okay, so now what we have in the repository is all the methods. Those are simple methods like with this find by prefix, right? But what if we want to fetch some complex data based on a complex query? Yeah, there are options for us to do that as well. So in there we can either use the Jpa queries or the SQL queries. First I will use the Jpa queries to fetch data. So this is called Jpa named queries, right? I already had that thing like pasted. Yeah, so what we are doing is we have to add this at query annotation, which is actually from this Jpa repository, right? And then we have to write the method. So in this case the name really doesn't matter, because what happens is when we are calling this particular method, this the SQL or the Jpa query written on top of the method will get executed, right? So here we can pass the parameters in few different ways. So this is named parameters, so where we name the particular parameter and we can use them. So here I am saying param equals name, and so I am making it as a string, and then the next param is status and status. So here we can pass those two params into the query. Actually what I am doing here is, this is kind of a search where we use. So normally when we search, we don't we expect to search with a little like, right? So we cannot pass the exact name when we are searching. So someone might pass half of the name, but still we need to fetch that particular user. So that's what I am doing here. So here if the name is null, then this query will ignore this part and will execute the rest of the query, right? So if the name, then the name likes the parameter that I am passing here, and the same for the status. In this case status, we have to have exact match. We don't want to like do a partial match for the status, so it has to be exact. So that's why I am using the equals mark here, right? So let's go and check this one out as well in the user service. So user repository dot this method find by find name and status, I believe it is the method, yes, right? So we have to pass the username as well as the status in this case, right? So then the name doesn't need to match exactly, this is a partial match for the name, that's how we have written the query. So we are passing the name and then the status. Okay, so let's go back and restart the server. Until it restarts, I'll add up some data there. So let's, okay, we don't have any data here. Now let's add a couple of data into the DB again. Okay, I'll add another, right? So let's go and check it out if everything is there. Yes, we have everything there. Now we can go and check it out. So let's go back to the method and see. Now it's a partial match for the name, an exact match for the status, right? So let's make the request. So here I have to pass the name as one, so I will just put O, and then instead of age we have to put status here, right? So I'll put status and I believe it is active, right? And let's make a request. Okay, so the partial match works and I am getting the user with name 1 and then the status active. So if you want to change the status here, and so yeah, there's nothing with status active, inactive, right? So let's change it back to active and then search. Yeah, we get it. So let's change it to some other text, let's say RRR, and test it. We don't get anything, right? So that's how it works. So this is using the Jpa queries to fetch data, right? So if you are not comfortable with JPA, or maybe if you want to write plain SQL, there is an option for that as well. So let me have already written a method, so we can directly use it here, right? So here in this case we have to have this at query annotation, and here we are writing a simple SQL statement, right? And then since this is SQL, we have to let them know that this is SQL, this is not JPA, right? So to mark it like that, we have to pass native query equals true. So then it identifies this one as SQL query, right? So then as previously, the name doesn't really matter in this case, but it's always better to like have a meaningful name, and right, I'm passing the first name or the username here, username or the name, let's make it name, right? Okay, right, so let's call this one. So actually what I'm doing is select you from user where u.name like. So actually this is, we are adding a like partial check, but it is not in both ways. So this particular name can end like this, and the it can have some prefix before the name but not at the end, right? So find by names ends with, so the name should end with the text that we pass in here, right? Let's restart again. Okay. In data again, so this is going to be a bit of hard to add data each and every time, so I think I made a mistake there. So let's add one to one. Okay, let's see what we have exactly. I think, okay, right, I have only one record. I updated the record, so I will create two. 5 names ending with, right? So let's go and check here. So I'll remove the status. Okay, so it fetches me the particular user that we need, right? So it's the same case for 2 as well, and even it fetches data even if we match. So let's try something like this as well. Yeah, so even if we, because it's a partial match, and even if we say oh, let's see what we get here. Yeah, so this is a partial match, so the name contains so will be fetched as a user. So okay, so there are actually many ways where we can use Jpa queries inside this repository. Apart from the existing ones in the Jpa repository, we can write our own custom methods, and there are ways, of course, we have to use. Sometimes we have to use pagination and the sorting, so which I will do in a later video, since this is getting the video is getting larger, right? So I think that's what I wanted to show. So I will be uploading this particular repo into the GitHub, and I will share the description below, as well as I will add more detailed version of this repo in my blog as well, and I will list it under as the description as well. So feel free to download the repo and check it out for you. So I think now, as I have covered the creation of endpoints and then the Lombok pattern, as well as the Jpa repository part, how we can write custom methods, I think you guys are quite capable of building a small application using all these 3 videos. Hope you would like it, and if you liked it, please subscribe to my video and give a thumbs up, as well as please don't forget to comment if you need anything else in the future as well. Okay, that's it for now then. We'll see you later. Bye bye.